Okay, so I found out that Disney is negotiating with Alex Hirsch to maybe possibly make a third season of Gravity Falls somewhere in the future. And that brought me back to my Gravity Falls hyperfocus stage and made me recall that I actually wrote a fanfic several years ago, which was never finished. But anyway, I don't remember much from what I did there, but I do recall some cringy stuff that I came up with. And so I decided to share it with you guys because you need to know my crimes, okay? So let's laugh and get some cringe out of it together. Alright, so the things I remember now is that the story takes place several years later after the events of the show. Bill is reborn, the twins come back to the town, and the focus of the fanfic is a romance between Bill and Mabel. Oh my. Yeah, we got some stupid stuff there, but it's what we're all here for right now. I know that I drew illustrations for my chapters, and I found a couple of them on my laptop, so let's take a look at those before I can go to the fanfic itself and learn more about how sick and twisted my mind was when I was writing the story. So we got Bill possessed Pacifica and apparently threatening her life for some reason. The hell? I do remember I had this idea in mind for the future, but I think it's not present in the story because I quit writing it before the scene occurred. For the better or for worse, I don't know, because I'm kind of curious now about what my idea was, and I can't remember anything. Okay, moving on. Oh my god, this is insane. We got a romantic scene with these two. Oh my. Thankfully, they're not smooching, I would be dead right now. Other than those two illustrations, everything I had on my computer was character portraits to show how I redesigned them. I quickly flashed them on the screen, but nothing there to say much about it, so yeah. Alrighty, now it's time to try and find the fanfic to read some of it together. Okay, what do we got here? BTS, Originals, BTS, Vampire's Diaries. Oh, I found it! Xenophilia? First time? Sheesh, what the hell did I write there? Ah, wait, it's PG-13. We should be good. Hopefully. Alright, let's take a look at the table of contents here. Oh, I forgot I had a Christmas special trilogy there. Wow, now I remember, that was a whole thing. Intriguing, but before that, let's start with the prologue. Every demon has their own world, their own dimension where they live and rule. And if a demon manages it poorly, their influence may come to an end and everyone who was dear to them will die. Going for some dark vibes here, huh? Basically, in this prologue, I'm telling a story about how Bill was created by the energies of the universe and how he found the Earth and tried to use ancient people to build a portal for him so that he could conquer the world. And then I have a piece from one of the Gravity Falls books with an axolotl who hints us that Bill can be reborn and tells us about the tragedy that destroyed his dimension in the past. Axolotl, my time has come to burn, I invoke the ancient power that I may return. And that's how the prologue ends. In the first chapter, Stan and Ford call the twins to invite them over for the summer, and so they come to Gravity Falls again. On their first night, they both see the exact same dream, where they meet the axolotl that can tell them whatever they want to know. And the creature says the same piece from the Gravity Falls book that I put in the prologue. In the morning, they discuss this dream with Ford, and he says that apparently Bill is gonna come back, and the mission is to prevent him from being evil and destroy the town again. And that's how Mabel comes up with this school of kindness and politeness for Bill. They make a deal with him in exchange for being able to enter people's dreams, because you see, in the beginning of his life, he's not able to do that until at least one person gives him permission to enter their dreams. That deal seemed harmless, and so they agreed. And Bill is now obligated to take Mabel's kindness classes, although no one really believed that that could help in the slightest. Oh, I even got a cipher at the end of each chapter. Well, that's really cool. I remember my ciphers learning phase, and I wanted to do the same thing with what the show did and added ciphers with some little spoilers to my chapters. I actually like that. It seems like a cool idea. Guess I wasn't always stupid sometimes back then. My next chapter focuses on a forest adventure and some new anomalies, such as witches in particular. Our characters explore the forest in search of something new going on in the town, and I have a little reference to those two clones of Dipper that we saw a glimpse of in the ending title of the show. Dipper and Mabel found them living in the forest and had a nice chat. After exploring more of the forest together, suddenly it started raining, and because the clones were in danger now, they decided to run into a hut they found nearby, which turned out to be a witch's house. And before she could devour them all for lunch, Bill saves the day, destroying her to ashes. Then he creates magic spheres around the clones so that they could come home safe and sound. But who knows if Bill's help is genuine and not a part of his evil plan. The tension, I swear. I will not go into a lot of detail in regards to each of my next chapter because that's gonna be a lot. But over the course of the fanfic, we'll also meet a new character, which was once my OC that I sold as an adoptable, unfortunately, because I really love his design. Anyway, we meet Gino, who is a mage, and he collects a lot of herbs and greens to use in his magical endeavors. Our characters befriend him, and Bill and him have a hard time together because Gina doesn't particularly trust the demon, and Bill despises Gina's magic and views it as some clowny tricks. But over the course of the story, they end up having more in common than each of them would like to, and so at some point they have to work together in order to defeat their common enemy, which appears in my Christmas special trilogy. And honestly, I love that dynamic. I love when characters who hate each other have to work together in order to achieve their common goal. And we can see how slowly but surely they end up being closer to each other and maybe even becoming friends. At this point, I would rather ship these two instead of going for the Mabel-Bill pairing. Anyway, the enemy they all fight in the Christmas Special trilogy is a group of second most powerful creatures in the universe that, as it turns out later, were the reason Bill's dimension was destroyed. He can't remember anything about his past lives, but the first one, when that whole situation happened. But we'll learn his backstory a bit later. While on a trip to another dimension where Gino gathers some of his materials for magic, locals were having a Christmas party. Their king asks the adventurers to help them make the greatest party and hang out with them. Then suddenly, these creatures I told you about earlier, who call themselves hawks, attacked the kingdom and captured the king. They were searching for Bill. While Dipper and Mabel were helping civilians and keeping them safe, Bill and Gino had to work together to destroy the enemy. They ventured to different places together to gather all the necessary materials for Gino's magic. So that the twins stay safe while the other two are gone, Gina surrounds them with magical spheres, and Bill gives Mabel this necklace. When one of the hawks attacks Mabel, the necklace gives her the power to defeat him. After Bill and Gina come back, Bill comes up with a plan on fooling the hawks and destroying them, saving the dimension. The victory was too easy, and they all knew that the hawks would come back eventually. But before that, they saved the town and had a nice Christmas party before going back home. It's in the next chapter when we'll learn about Bill's tragic backstory and how he lost his younger brother Will due to the attack of the hawks. And that's pretty much all I wrote for the fanfic. I had more ideas for the future chapters, but this is when I quit writing it. I remember I wanted to make the characters and the readers trust Bill and then suddenly show him doing some crazy stuff out of nowhere, making everyone believe that he was not what he seemed all this time and make him the antagonist. And after quite a long time, we would learn that everything he'd done was actually a part of his plan to either sacrifice himself or save somebody. I didn't figure it out, but he would still be a good guy in the end. They would defeat the hawks for the second time together, for realsies this time. And at the end of the story, with the help of that demonic necklace Bill gave her, Mabel would turn into a demon so that her and Bill could be together forever. Oh boy. I want to say I took this fanfic really seriously when I was writing it. I remember just how excited I was. I had my notebook where I would write 3 drafts before uploading each chapter. First one would be an outline. In the second, I describe every scene and add phrases for the dialogues I wanted to use, and then I would write a chapter. Not to mention all the illustrations and ciphers I did for each of them. I think that was a really cool thing. I was really enjoying myself, as you can tell. Anyway, in the background, I'm redrawing my human build design I had for the fanfic. And as you can see, he doesn't really look much like most of humanization designs. And he's also a fanboy. My boyfriend hates me for this. Damn, now I want to draw more stuff from my fanfic just to have fun with it. If anyone is curious to read it, I don't mind at all, but as you can see, it's all in Russian. So if there's Russians who watch me and if you're interested to learn more about this cringy stuff, I have the link in the description for you. You can go wild and do whatever with the story, I don't really care. Anyway, that is it for today. I hope you had a good time listening to this crap, and I'll see you soon. Bye!